But now let's get two more guests in. Ajay Bodke of Prabhudas Lilladher talks about the fundamentals, and Hemant Tukral of Aditya Birla Money will share some F&O trading ideas. Gentlemen, good morning to both of you. Ajay, I'm going to start with you. Seems like, as Sudarshan was pointing out, that short-term correction is now out of the way and the market has resumed its uptrend. What's the sense you're getting, and what should retail investors be doing now?
I think with the complete washout of the winter session of Parliament, where investors had a lot of hopes about legislative reforms going through. The government, I think, has shown tremendous resolve in terms of promulgating the ordinance for the insurance and the coal sector. In the interregnum between now and budget, I think my expectation is the market should consolidate between, say, 8,000 levels on the downside, which would be very difficult, in my opinion, to break. And on the upside, could test the previous highs. We could obviously see some sort of a rally before the budget. But I think the government needs now to use this opportunity between the two sessions to push through as many administrative reforms as possibly they can, and also look at some of the pending reforms on the draconian land acquisition bill, and also on the labor reforms. So these are the two expectations that investors have. The government will move ahead towards some sort of a consensus across the political spectrum, and at least make it easier for industry and infrastructure projects to acquire land at sort of at a speed far higher than what the current bill envisages. So I think liquidity. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was just wanting to know, in your book, therefore, chances of the third quarter results being a disappointment and taking the index below, say, 7,900 or so doesn't exist.
I think the results, in our opinion, would be more or less as per expectations. We are penciling in for the full FY15 a growth of roughly 13.5% to 14% in Nifty earnings. We are looking at around 449 rupees of earnings for Nifty for FY15. I think the results will be more or less in line as per our expectations. And some of the sectors we believe which will be leading the growth will more or less be similar as what we saw over last 2 quarters, namely the private sector banks and NBFCs as against the public sector banks would lead the charge in the BFSI space. In the cyclical space, we believe that the auto companies will lead the charge. In engineering, capital equipment and construction companies, we will continue to see a disappointment vis-a-vis what market expectations are, because the revival in earnings, in our opinion, will happen only after a lag of 2 more quarters. Also, in case of IT sector, we have seen a whole host of top-end companies coming and cautioning that cross-currency headwinds would impact the earnings. But markets are looking beyond that. They're looking at a strong surge in American economy and across the Atlantic in the UK. We are the 2 main markets for these companies. So there, although the earnings might slightly disappoint, in our opinion, because of cross-currency headwinds, the buoyancy in volume growth and pricing power coming back to the companies will lead to outperformance for the sector. Pharma, again, I think will have a mixed bag in earnings.
All right, we will come back with more stock-specific or sector-specific questions. Ajay, let me get Hemant into the conversation.
Hi, welcome back. We were in conversation with Ajay Bodke of Prabhudas Lilladher and Hemant Tukral to give us some F&O ideas. Ajay, on the fundamental side, what are the stocks that you're recommending to investors to buy now?
On the IT side, as I mentioned, looking beyond the cross-currency headwinds that might impact the earnings in the current quarter, we feel that in the medium-term perspective, both Infosys and Tech Mahindra in the large cap space offer a good entry opportunity with a 1-year perspective. In the mid-cap space, our analyst prefers Mindtree and KPIT Technologies. In the auto space, I think Tata Motors offers a very strong opportunity, both because of expected upmove in the MCV and HCV sectors as the economic growth picks up, especially in sectors like mining, which had stalled for the last couple of years, as also some of the new launches expected on the JLR side. Insofar as the domestic cyclical play is concerned, Maruti Suzuki remains our top pick in the auto space. In the cement space, ACC in the large cap space and JK Lakshmi Cement in the mid cap space remain our top favorite. JK Lakshmi, because of the large volume growth expected over this year and next financial year, roughly 12.5 million tons of total capacity the company will have by end of next financial year. In the capital goods space, Larsen & Toubro and Cummins are our picks.
Okay. Well, Ajay, we'll just come back to you. We've got the pre-opening rates. They're looking somewhat bullish.
Get of 140 and 145 on the upside. So I think that another 1 or 2 sessions you will see mid-cap PSU banks outperforming. So traders can look onto them for making some quick money on the trade.
Your take on mid-cap banks and more generally on mid-caps, what are your favorites there? You gave us a couple of IT mid-caps, but generally on the mid-cap space.
Yeah, I think on the PSU banking in general, my worries essentially stem from the fact that till the economic recovery picks up, I think the debt asset problems will continue to sort of be of concern for investors. And the FM himself has gone on record to say that the banks, PSU banks in general, mid caps as well as large caps, need to look at raising $40 billion over the medium term for their capital needs for the Basel III requirements. And some of the other agencies expect that that number is highly underestimated. We could look at in upwards of $80 billion. So I think till such time that the economy gets going, I would hold my horses insofar as PSU banks are concerned, with the sole exception of SBI, which we believe is the best placed among the PSU banking space. In the mid-caps in general, I did mention Mindtree and KPIT on the IT side. On the mid-cap banking side, our analyst is positive on Federal Bank. And in case of engineering companies, Cummins and Thermax continue to remain our favorites with a medium-term perspective. Aurobindo Pharma in the pharmaceutical space. And in case of construction companies, Ashoka Buildcon is what our analyst is very positive on, because we are expecting a large amount of orders on the road sector to be tendered out on the EPC basis. And the company's current order book over the next of 2,000 crores, we are expecting it to double over the next 18 to 24 months. So that remains our favorite on the construction space. JK Lakshmi I already spoken about on the cement space.
All right, so those are some fundamental buy ideas. Hemant, the big gainer last week was JSPL, up about 9%. And even in pre-opening, I think the stock is moving higher. Any fresh buy side or rather trading ideas on the upside for JSPL that you would recommend?
See, Sonia, I would put it this way. The stock has seen short covering now. Very clearly, now it's holding on to that bottoms of 135, 140. So I would be definitely buying any dipping opportunity if I get around 148, 149 for a target of 160, 165. The only thing which has to be cautious here is that this view is more on the technical front, because on the derivatives front, I usually don't prefer stocks which have gone up on short covering. So metal stocks have seen more of short covering, whether Tata Steel, Sisa Sterlite or JSPL. So I would really want to see that how the long positions gone on adding. But technically JSPL is looking good to go up to 160, 165 from these levels also.
All right. Well, let me just quickly tell you that the markets are settling quite clearly into the green at this point in time. That's the Nifty for you, up about 0.2%. And the Sensex as well, indicating a little bit of green at this juncture. So clearly the start is looking okay. All right, it's not too much, 0.1, but we'll have to wait and see. Just a couple of stocks that are doing very well at this point. Glenmark Pharma, that licensing news has been taken well. Pre-opening trades are standing about 3% higher. TVS Motors has a 1.5% gain. Amara Raja is 1.3, Lupin 1.3, Ashok Leyland 1.2. So largely looks like auto ancillaries and pharma is being preferred. Ajay, finally, that question to you, any of the top favorites in the auto ancillary space, so many of them have run up so much. Likewise, mid-cap pharma, anything that you all like?
Yeah, I think in the auto ancillary space, as you put it rightly, almost all the stocks have done roaringly well in the last 1 year. But our preference continues to remain with stocks like Bharat Forge and Motherson. These remain our favorites, sectoral favorites in the auto ancillary space. In the mid-cap pharma space, Aurobindo Pharma is what our analyst is positive on.
All right, gentlemen, we leave it at that. Thanks for joining us and taking us through the pre-opening rates, which have settled largely flat, but there is a positive bias that you can see. So the Nifty is up about 14 odd points. That's what my screen is showing me. And big gains on some of the names like Lupin, etc., which are up about 1.2%. And JSPL last week's
25%